subscribe to our YouTube channel, Joy Learning TV.
My lovely viewers, you are welcome to this year episode of Joy Learning for Social Studies. I know you miss me very much, and I miss you too. Today, we are going to have an interesting topic. And the topic is for BS7, and it's titled Environmental Issues. I know you are going to enjoy the lesson. But before I start the lesson, I'm sure some of you have forgotten my name. My name is the usual name you used to call me, Anita Ochre Asari. Now, let's move on to our topic. Wow. Now, you can see a picture on your screen. I want you to guess what the picture is about. I'm sure some of you are saying, this is a nice place. This is a place for you to even go and take a picnic, or a place to relax yourself. But I told you earlier on that the topic is what? Environmental issues. So if you look at this, you can see that it's about the environment. A very serene one, of course. Now, let's move on again. Our topic, or our strand for today, is environment. And the sub-strand is environmental issues. Before we start the lesson, you have to look for the indicators or the exemplars. And some of the exemplars we are going to discuss today is, by the end of the strand, each learner will be able to explain environment, sanitation, discuss the types of environment, that is, physical and social environment, forms of environment, identify some environmental problems, including poor sanitation. And lastly, state and explain the types of environment. Now, before we start the lesson, we should have some vocabularies that we can or we will be using throughout our learning. Now, some of the words that you can see is environment, sewage, refuse dump, sanitation, management, degradation, and pollution. Let me take the words again. The key words or the vocabulary for today's lesson is environment, refuse dump, sanitation, sewage, management, degradation, and pollution. I'm sure you've heard of these words before. They are no new words to you. And if they are also new words, then you have to quickly take your notepads and write them down. As we go along, I'll be using these words interchangeably. And so, let's move on to the next slide. Now, we are going to find out the meaning or define the word environment. Environment refers to our social and physical surrounding. Remember the picture I first viewed on the screen? It was a picture of the environment. So we are saying that environment refers to our social and physical surrounding. It is made up of all the things we see around us. Now look around you, wherever you are. I'm sure by this time you will be at home watching. So look around you. You can come out of your sitting room, you can come out of your bedroom and look around you. and see some of the things that you can find around you. The things we see and smell, and even the things we feel around us, is part of the environment. Now, the next explanation is sanitation. Sanitation, remember, in the keywords or in the vocabulary, we mentioned sanitation. What does it mean? Yes, take your notepads and be writing them. Because at the end of the lesson, I will be giving you a little bit of quiz to do. Don't get scared. It's just a simple one. Right. Sanitation simply refers to the public health and condition that is related to drinking good water or potable water and adequate treatment and disposal of both solid and human waste, or keeping places clean and healthy. Let me take that again because I want you to write them down. Sanitation refers to the public health and condition that is related to clean drinking water or potable water and adequate treatment and disposal of both solid and human waste, or keeping places clean and healthy. With sanitation, there are lots of problems. You know that if you come out of your environment, if the environment is clean, you may see one or two things that is not part of the environment that makes it unclean. So we are saying that with sanitation, there are a lot of problems, such as what? Pollution of the environment through the air, water and land degradation. Sometimes you may be at home or at school, then you see that in the classroom or in the house, you can smell smoke, or you see smoke coming out from somebody's backyard into your house. We call that air pollution. Sometimes it even makes some of us choke. And when you are choking, what do? You cough a little because the smoke has entered your trachea, which is making you very uncomfortable. Now let's look at the types of environments. The types of environments. We have the physical environment and the social environment. Now let's look at this picture. What do you see in the picture? Write them down quickly. I'm seeing something here. I'm sure you're also looking at something. You can see some little kids in an environment, and they have some things they are having with them. They are interacting with the environment. So this is also a type of environment. So we move on to physical environment. The physical environment is defined as the surrounding within which man, animal, and plants live. Look at the diagram again, the picture again. So you can see the little kids, yourself in your house, yourself in the woods, or yourself even in school. It's a physical environment because you have buildings, you have cinema, you have restaurants, and others that makes up the environment. You can see these little children in the woods or in a garden playing. So that's the physical environment. The component of the physical environment covers these things. I'm very sure that most of you are fortunate to live around where the sea is. So the sea is part of the environment. If you don't live near the sea, definitely you'll be living near one of the physical environments, some of the components of the physical environment. So we have plant life, we have soil, we have animals, we have climate and buildings. So you see that everybody is part of the physical environment. Now, the next is social environment. What is the meaning of social environment? My interaction with you right now on TV is even part of social environment. So let's look at the definition for social environment. The social environment is defined as the kind of social climate or interpersonal relationship that exists in a given community. Now look at where you live right now. I'm sure the next neighbor, you have a very good relationship with the person. People you meet along your way as you go to school, you commute to school, you have a relationship with them. At least you say a hi to the person. It means you have a good interpersonal relationship with the person. For instance, in the classroom, the way you relate to your friends, right now maybe in the classroom, the way you relate to your friends, you have that good interpersonal relationship. And that's what we call social environment. Sometimes when you go to the fishing community, you see their social life. They have a way they behave. When you go to the farming community, it's the same thing that happens there. And if you come to the church who has a social community. So every group of people can have a social community, which is interpersonal. The way you relate with somebody, even at home, very good one is an interpersonal relationship. Why are we saying this? Because it harmonizes what the people say and do. I once told you that your relationship with someone, the positive one, is a good interpersonal relationship. It includes man's culture, his attitude, the family groups, village, community, and man's role in society. So the role you play at school tells you that you are in a good relationship with your peers. Sometimes, some of you have very good relationship with your teachers. Some also have good relationship with their facilitators. Are you okay with me? Right. Now, there's a beautiful picture on the screen. I hope you can tell me what is happening. Write them down as quickly. For me, I can see a lot of things. There are a group of people. I can see a Muslim lady. I can see other people. They're having a discussion. So they have a good personal relationship in terms of what? Discussion. And if in a society, if you don't have that communal spirit or the spirit of good interpersonal relationship, what happens? You realize that you will not feel comfortable in the community in which you find yourself. So it is very necessary that you have a good interpersonal relationship. I'm sure some of you can give me a tall list of examples of what these people are doing on the screen right now. So write them down because I'm going to ask you questions for you to answer me. Are you okay with me? I know you social studies students, you are very smart and you are always right on point. Now let's go to the next slide. Now we are looking at the environmental problems under environmental issues. Now we have some of the environmental problems we have is air pollution, or sometimes bush burning, water pollution, land pollution, and poor sanitation. What is water pollution? What is water pollution? I'm sure some of you are trying to, you wish you could just phone in and call me, but then I'm going to open the Joy Learning channel handle so that you send your answers to me when it's the quiz time. So let's explain or define what water pollution is. It is the contamination of water bodies, which includes river, streams, lakes, among others, and other substances or foreign materials that makes water body impure, or which may be in the form of solid, liquid, or semi-solid materials. For example, we are looking at some of the examples that we can get from water contamination or water pollution. One is dumping of oil, fecal matter, chemicals, refuse, and many more into water bodies, making them become impure. Why are we saying that? We are saying that because, for example, let's take the dumping of oil. How can water be polluted through dumping of oil? Look around you. Look around you. I'm sure you've seen that mechanic shop where Mr. Bedu repairs people's vehicles. And look around you, next to the fitting shop is a river. What happens? The oil spill from the engine now goes down into the soil. And when there's a heavy rainfall, this oil flows right into the river where you and I drink from. So the water becomes polluted. Now let's look at fecal matter. Why does water become polluted through fecal matter? Now, if people try to defecate anywhere around us, what happens? It's the same way. When it rains, it washes all this fecal matter into the river. Sometimes people build their toilets, facilities just near to the river. And what happens? The outlet of the water goes straight into the river and contaminates the river. As for refuse, you know what is happening. When you sweep your classrooms, instead of sending the refuse to the right place, some of you quickly drop it along the way. And then it makes the whole place polluted. It makes the place very dirty. And when it rains, oh la la, what happens? All this refuse straight into the river, chokes the river and makes the river not pleasant for us to drink from or to even swim in it. Good. And all these, as I've mentioned, makes the water impure. Water is very important to all living things, including man. Animals drink water. Human drink water. Without water, we cannot live. It is very important for domestic and industrial and agricultural purposes. Yes, domestic, we need water in our homes, and we need to have clean water in our home. So when the water is polluted, you cannot use it at all. Now, industrial use, there are lots of factories that use water in their daily processes. For example, when you go to the pharmaceutical companies, you see that water is needed in mixing what? The powder for making paracetamol and others. When you go to the agricultural farms, they need water for irrigation to help the plants to grow very well. I'm very sure you are writing down all these that I'm saying, because this year we are coming out. We are making it big. Social studies, we are making it big. I was so excited when I saw most of my Joy Learning students calling me Madam. I had one in social studies. I was so happy. And so I'm very sure as I am lecturing or teaching you, you will be jotting down the salient points so that you also do very well in your class examination, midterm examination, and even your end of term examination. Now, let's look at sources of water. Sources of water. Yeah, I can see you writing them down very, very fast. Very, very fast. Okay, so one source of water is the rainfall. It's rainfall, wells, ponds, sea, lakes, lagoons, craters, rivers, streams, etc., etc. There are lot of them. These are all sources of water. Beautiful water scenery that God has created for us. But what happens? We want to pollute them, and we shouldn't do that at all. Wow. If we have a beautiful scenery of water and we end up polluting them, what happens? Let's look at the picture right in front of our screens. Look at it very well. I think this looks very nasty. I think you have the same idea with me. Also thinking the same. This is because of you and I, our behavior. Dumping refuse into the gutter. When you see no one is looking at you, quickly you drop it there. And it ends up in the sea. It ends up in the river. And you know that when it becomes like that, you have polluted the water. And we cannot drink from this. So we are learning today that it is not right for us to pollute the water with the filth that we have from our homes, our factories, our industries, and even from our farms. Environmental sanitation. Environmental sanitation. What is it? It is the act and science of applying sanitary, biological, and scientific knowledge to improve health and the welfare of the general public. Did you get that? Let me take it again because I want you to write it down. Environmental sanitation is the act and science of applying sanitary, biological, and scientific knowledge to improve health and the welfare of the general public. So when we have environmental sanitation, it simply means that things that are needed to help improve sanitation in our environment. So you can have one in your house. You can have the rake, you can have a watering can, you can have a dustbin. These are all what? Sanitary or biological or scientific knowledge to improve health sanitation in your environment. Another definition is poor sanitation. Poor sanitation. What is poor sanitation? It simply refers to a public health condition that is related to unclean drinking water, inadequate treatment of solid and liquid waste. Example is excreta from drains, pit latrines, close to water bodies, and improper disposal of solid waste which creates poor sanitation. Remember one of our slides, we saw a picture of what? A poor sanitation, where people had dumped refuse into gutters, into rivers, and the whole place looked messy. So these are some of the examples. Excreta into drains. You see people pouring urine into gutters, which is not right at all. All this urine goes straight into the sea. And what do we eat from the sea? Yes, I know you have answered that already. We get fishes, we get oysters, and others. So if you send this dirty, or you pour this dirty rubbish into the water, what happens? You kill all the animals in the sea. So we shouldn't do that at all. Again, it can also be referred, or it can be defined as people who live in a particular setting or place and do not have access to clean and potable drinking water for their daily activities. It's very worrisome if you turn on the tap and there's no water. And then when you find out 2 days, 1 week, 1 month, no water. Wow. How will you feel at home? Then you feel very uncomfortable. If we treat the water well, we'll still have water all the time. But if we pour rubbish into the water, what will happen? It will get choked. And then water cannot run through our tap, because you give the water and sewage company extra work to do. They have to do dredging to remove all the rubbish before they go through the process of what? Purifying the water. And I think this is an extra cost to the nation. So we shouldn't do that at all. Communities without good sewage system, such as latrine, live in filthy environments. Filthy environment. I'm sure no social studies student would like to live in a filthy environment, because we are now learning that we should keep our environments clean. We shouldn't pollute the water. We shouldn't do things that will let us find ourselves in problems. You've seen the next slide, which is public sanitation. Think deep. Public sanitation. What is it? It is having access to facilities for the safe disposal of human waste, that is feces and urine. It includes garbage collection, transportation, and treatment. I know that most of you have garbage bins in your homes where the vehicle comes and then takes them away to trash them. Cleaning of drains, school streets, public toilets, and public places are all part of it. Now let's look at forms of sanitation. There are two types of sanitation. So we have the personal sanitation and then the public sanitation. I know you know what is personal sanitation. Somebody wants to answer me. I'll give you a question and then you answer at the end of the show. Now let's explain personal sanitation. It is the proper handling or way of cleaning your body every day, like washing your hands. Remember when the COVID came, some people were not washing their hands. It was because of the COVID. Now that the COVID is dwindling, going down, they have stopped washing their hands. Please keep on washing your hands. It's very important because it's part of personal sanitation. Going to toilets, you must wash your hands. Brushing your teeth twice a day and also handling menstrual waste properly. The girls, menstrual waste, you know it. Your sanitary pads, wrap it very nicely, put it back into a rubber, and then you trash it in the bin. Don't just leave it anywhere, right? And then cleaning household toilets and handling household garbage and others properly. Now let's go to types of sanitation. We have basic sanitation, container-based sanitation, community-led total sanitation, and dry sanitation. Write them down. Now, we are looking at air pollution. It is the release of gases, smoke, fume, odor in amounts which could be harmful to the health of human and also cause damage to plants and animals. When the environment is made impure, it is said to be polluted. There are various ways by which the air can be polluted. Remember, I told you that when you are home, you can see your neighbor burning and then the smoke comes and you get choked because the stench or the smell is too much for you. Now, smoke from exhaust of vehicles and firewood is also part of what? Air pollution. Waste from industries and dust from quarry sites also pollute the air. Now let's look at this interesting picture. I'm sure some of you have cars like this in your neighborhood and you scream, oh, why is this man's vehicle smoking? Is the car burning? No, it's polluting the air because the car is rickety and it is bringing out what? Smoke into the air, which is not good for our health. Now let's look at some of the cultural practices and their related problems in our communities. The various cultural practices in our community and its related problem are as follows: bush burning, land degradation, water pollution, and others. Now let's look at bush burning. Bush burning is one of the most destructive or wildlife that occurs frequently of grassland areas in Ghana. There are certain areas in Ghana, you know, that very soon we'll be learning vegetation. So you know the type of vegetation that we have in all the regions in Ghana. Some areas have grassland. And when the weather is very dry, it's very easy for the place to be set on fire because the leaves there are very dry. So we say that because of this, most of the plants found there cannot withstand fire. Now look at this picture on your screen again. Interesting. Somebody just smoked a piece of cigarette and just dropped it down. Wow! Look at the havoc the person has caused. The whole place is ablaze. Fire, gutted, somebody's farm, somebody's house. Is it a good thing? No, it is not. So we must be very conscious of how we leave fire during the dry season because it can cause bush burning. This also usually occurs when the season is dry. The adverse effects of bush burning and air pollution causes disease and death, such as respiratory diseases connected with breathing, such as lung cancer, asthma, and tuberculosis. I know you know other diseases that bush burning can cause. All these diseases are acquired through inhalation. Land degradation. Another cultural practice found in our various communities is land degradation. This simply refers to the gradual construction of land by man and animals to the extent that the land loses its fertility. Why are we saying that? We are saying that because the misuse of land through improper mining activities, such as overgrazing and improper farming practices, all bring about land degradation. Do you remember the land behind your house where those big trucks go and excavate the soil and take them away? Do you remember that place? Yes, that's what we are talking about. They are degrading the land. Now let's look at this picture on your screen again. This lesson is very interesting, I know, because I'm using pictures to explain the topic very well so that you get the glimpse of it. Look at the picture. What's happening there? Can you see the water? What's the color of the water? It has changed. Someone is saying it looks like tea. Yes, it looks really like tea. It looks like tea, yes. But you know, it is true. What? Land degradation. They are trying to dig deep into the soil to get something. Let's see what they are doing. Now let's look at some of the solutions to some cultural practices. Because of all these things they are doing, it is very necessary to have public education, to educate the people in our communities, our social environment, for them to know that it is not right for you to do what? To degrade the land. It's not right for you to pollute the environment. It's not right for you to do what? To pollute water. Are you okay with me? Now, let's look at the next one. We need laws, enforcement of environmental laws. Yes, we need laws to be backing the laws that we do, so that when you are found as a culprit, what will happen to you? You'll be arrested, because it's not right for you to pollute the environment. Ban on the use of rickety vehicles. Yes, those vehicles on the streets that as they move, you see them smoking like a pipe. You understand? You have to remove all those by the appropriate quarters. EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, they are the people to do that. I know you know that. I taught it last year, so you remember. Now, ban on illegal mining. The picture I showed to you, they have to ban all those people so that our water can be clear and then we can drink, than having that cocoa drink that we see on the TV. When I say cocoa, I'm talking about, in quotes, water that is polluted. Right. Now, I'm going to have an assignment for you. That's your first assessment from all that I have taught. Let's try this first assignment. We are going to do it right now. I'm going to receive them. I'm going to tell you where you are supposed to send this assignment to, so that I will mark and then I'll send the answers to you through Joy Learning Channel social media handles. Right, let's look at the first question. List 4 environmental problems in Ghana. Hey, I see, Kofi, you want to answer that question for me? Write it down. Write it down. Just jot it down. And then later you send it to me. Okay, so what are the answers for the first one? The first one, the answers to it. Should I tell you, or you are ready to do it? I know social studies students are very smart. Okay, they want to do it. So you do it and then you send it to my email through Joy Learning TV on their social media handle. Now, this assignment is for you. This assignment is for you. As for this one, I'm going to score marks and I'll say it on air for everybody to hear that you are the best person who had everything correct. So write the assignment down. The first question is, identify 2 cultural practices and problems and propose a solution. So that means that you are going to identify 2 cultural practices and the problems and then look for a solution for it. Let's see the second question. You are doing all the 2. You're not going to choose one. Right. The second one is create a poster on any cultural practices. So you saw some of the pictures that we had. Some of the pictures. Land degradation. So you are just going to give me a very, you paint it. Paint it nicely. I want yours to be nicer than what I showed to you today on air. I'm sure you are writing down the question. You're writing it down. So quickly write them down. And then, after you have written it, we'll call it a day with your social studies facilitator, Anita Ochri Asari. For me, it's a bye. Keep learning and do my assignment for me. You meet me again during the next lesson. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Joy Learning TV.